What's happening? I'm here with Andrew from Usherwood. How are you, Andrew? What's happening?
What's going on? How are you?
I am very well. Great to see you again. Last time we saw each other, we were at Firestone. Thanks to Mars International. Thank you, Mike Sadowski. Had a good time, and you saw you saw some bad sides of me that day, but had a couple good ones. I wanted to get you on the show today, get a little background before we start. Tell us the overview. Who's Usherwood? What do you do for them? And then we're gonna I'll take it and jump right into why we have you here today.
Sure. Yeah. Actually, a couple weeks ago, I celebrated my 15-year anniversary here. I am the CFO here at Usherwood. We are headquartered in Syracuse and have locations. Thank you. Yes. I started right out of college, it's pretty much the only place I've known, and we've grown, at least fourfold since I've been here.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're headquartered here in Syracuse, New York, not too far from you. And we have offices from basically Buffalo to Boston to the Canadian border.
Yeah, we've got one of those offices right here in Rochester, or
We sure
I
do.
know you guys got back and forth with your offices in Syracuse are pretty new. I still haven't gotten there yet. I need to go visit you guys and check those out. Love
For sure.
Syracuse, love SU, love Dinosaur Barbecue even more.
We're very close, 2 blocks from Dinosaurs
Yeah,
where our office
we're
is.
we're right down the throughway from you. So this
Amen.
this was just great getting you on here. We're doing a series of interviews for power users of the CEO Juice platform and what some of the dealers are doing with it and how there's a very small handful, and you're one of them, from what Gary says, that are able to just let's just say squeeze a lot more out of that juice, right? So.
Yeah, sure.
Um, why don't you tell me, give me your thoughts on CEO Juice and how you guys use it to approach e-automate and we can just start from there.
Yeah, it's real interesting. I think kind of the timing of the BI, the dashboard part of the juice environment, really coincided a lot with the pandemic, at least from our use. And one of the interesting things is pretty much, I think it's 90 something percent of dealers are using Automate, and probably many of them also using CEO Juice. So both things you're already paying for. The other side of it too is that most people are using Microsoft licensing, of which you're already paying for most of the Power BI stuff. So really, this is the only investment in this that we've had to make and that anyone has to make is time. So that's a real attractive piece to it. There's no heavy lift, there's no expensive component to it. But we were really just looking at how do we take all of the stuff that you used to use, e-views and spreadsheets and all that stuff, and how do you make it more intuitive without creating a whole new ecosystem or some sort of crazy convoluted process? And really, the environment of all the different BIs that they've put together has changed so many different processes and workflows, and really just ability to see the business from whatever level you want. If you want to see it at a 30,000 foot view, there's reports and dashboards for that. And if you want to dive in and the nitty gritty, there's reports and dashboards for those folks too.
So I get the sense that your path with e-automate and especially with CEO Juice, you mentioned really the pandemic. So over the last few years, how has your experience with CEO Juice? Have you grown into it more, or you're just as reliant as ever? Like, I know a lot of people are using it more than others, and so that's kind of what I'm trying to get a
Mhm.
sense of. How is your understanding of the platform and your use of it, gone over the years? Is it increased? Is it, how do you learn about it?
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that you get out what you put in, right? And CEO Juice does a really nice job of making things as acceptable and approachable as possible, to accommodating to all the different types of things that people do in their business, while making it as accommodating for people that might not do things the same way, to use sort of the same reports. The interesting thing is that our year end was yesterday, and it was the first time I'd been in the Automate in 8, 9 weeks. And it's just because all the data that you need, that you would normally get by running a report, running it, financial statements, anything to do with profitability, deal profitability, I get all that stuff from dashboards and reports. So it really augments the way that you access the data, as well as just it makes it so much easier to see, on an iPad, on a phone. You can get scorecard sent to you that shows you, what your gross margin is for the month. So you have so much more availability and access to data. But like I said, I think it's just you get what you put into it out of it. If you try to learn it, if you try to change it, if you try to, say, hey, this would be cool if it could do. CEO Juice is super accommodating to either showing you how to get what you want or, accommodating in future releases what you're hoping to do next.
So they're super interactive with you, it sounds like. They
Yeah,
walk you through a lot of this, or is it just, I mean, you said the word intuitive, but I think you were talking about the dashboards. How
correct.
when you're trying to, when you see something new pop up, what's the process
Mhm.
like there? Is it you contact them, say, I want to learn more about this, or is this as simple as just activating a module and playing with it?
It really depends because they're open to both, and I've done both depending on what the content is, right? If it's content I'm super familiar with, most of the time I'll just download the report, launch it, and just start poking around with the data, trying to poke holes in it, make sure it's working properly because they're building all of this stuff in a dev database with fake people and fake companies, and it might render, they don't know what is or what isn't, right? So we try to poke holes through the data. But there's also been times where, I'll give you an example. Recently, they've got a report that will tell you cross-selling index for key services for the different lines of business you might sell, and what percentages of people are consuming multiple of them. But the setup of that, I couldn't get my brain around it, right? So I set some time aside. I said, you got to walk me through all of this. And so it really depends on the content. They're open to either. They're open to, here it is, you kick it and play with it, or hey, you want to be handheld through it, we'll do that too.
And it's paid for. You mentioned that before, so if you need that
Right.
help, there's no extra consulting time, there's no extra fees that you get slapped with. They really have a nice setup from what everyone seems to say on that. I want to back up to that little point you made because it really kind of struck me right after you said it. That you're able to go 8 weeks, without
Hmm.
looking at it, but with the confidence of knowing I can pick it up anytime I want. You mentioned from your phone, from your computer, from your tablet, wherever you are in the world, and access it. And
Sure.
the confidence that you have that it's there and you're confident that it's right because you've been poking holes. So in the
Hmm.
past, before you got to this point, what would you have done? Like how long over those 8 weeks or longer would it have taken you to assemble all those reports now it sounds it's completely automated from what you're saying. Before,
Correct.
what was it like?
So yeah, I mean the first place that we really started was, monthly financials, right? And so that would be lots of different exports to try to cross-check all sorts of stuff now. Is everything in the right department, the right bucket, whatnot. We use the financial mapping tools that Juice has built within a BI that literally you just click a button and it shows you all of these things don't have a department, branch, whatever combination that you expect. You should look at them. So I mean that cuts down. You say how long would it have taken? The counterpoint also is probably how much would you have missed or how much would you not have been able to see with the amount of time that you'd be able to dedicate to. But I'd say, just rough average, we'd spend probably 6 hours a month putting together financial reports, and now it's 30, 40 seconds.
So that's, I mean, 6 hours a month at your pay scale with multiple people working on it. I would
Right.
say that beyond pays for itself. For just the convenience and the access, to be able to pull that up, and it's all in dashboard form, right? You pull in
Hmm.
dashboard and you set up with whatever data you want, and it just lets you, look by month, by different time periods, by different categories, and that's all customized by you around your needs. These aren't boilerplate to a point. You have to customize this, but it sounds pretty easy to get these set up, and even adding the new modules. Generally, from what you said, usually you can do it on your own.
Yeah, and again, it depends. It depends on your skill set, but it's not developer level stuff, right? I guarantee you that anybody that's at this scale, they've got somebody there that has this skill set because it's not that high end to get set up. But yeah, it's one of the big concerns and one of the big challenges that I think that the folks at Juice are trying to navigate through is that it feels very overwhelming when you open up one of these reports, right? There's so many different pages and filters and slicers that it almost gets overwhelming. But if you step back a little bit and just think of it as another pane of glass, just I mean, if you look at eAutomate, it's buttons and drop downs and lists, and it's overwhelming too. But it's comfortable to people. So once you get the lay of the land of what the different things do, I find it so much more approachable than running reports because you get so much dynamic data. You can get graphs and charts and you can see history, you can see trends, you can see all those things that you can't see in a crystal report or a spreadsheet without a hell of a lot of work.
When it's up to date, right? It's instant, not we have to wait till the end of the month until all the data has been entered and then run
Right.
the report physically with that 6 hours of time. This is any time of day or night. You can just pick up that phone, that laptop, whatever, and log in, and everything is right there, access, right there, accessible for you.
Yeah, one of the things that has been good for us is that you can take any piece of any one of the reports that they have and you can pin it to a scorecard or pin it to a dashboard, right? And so we've created one for our leadership team that has, crowdsourced, hey, these are the 10 things that our team needs to know at all times, right? Where are we revenue to plan for the month for the year? Where are we on, operating income month of the year? What are we at for whatever those metrics are? They update 12 times a day on that dashboard. Everyone can see them on the phone, no matter where in the world they are. They don't have to be within network or on a VPN or on a computer to run their own reports. Everyone feels like they're on pulse with, whatever those key indicators are um, at all times.
So when you talk about no matter where in the world they are, let's kind of back into this. You're one of the bigger ones. You're all over the Northeast. How many locations, how many states are you in?
We're in 7 states and we have 18 locations.
18 locations. So all locations are on CEO Juice and on eAutomate. They're all reporting
Yep.
in. And
Yep.
so I'm guessing you can break this down by branch, by location, by to the rep. I mean, down
Yeah.
to
Down
the
to the rep.
tech, to the
You can
rep.
down to the rep, down to the tech, depending on what report you're in. Yep. We were actually funny enough this morning because I mentioned we just finished our year, and so that always sparks lots of, well, how was this versus last year, right? And so our president was asking questions this morning. He's like, well, what was the how did the MIF grow year over year? What was the click volume year over year? What's the profitability by manufacturer year over year? And within the same page of a report, if you just filter down to a different level, you could answer all of those questions just like that. And these Power BIs, much like the juice reports of years past, the second you see one, it opens up that next question. It opens up that next question, right? It continues to feed the mind with thoughts of, how can we make this business better?
Well, that's got to drive a meeting to a whole nother level when you're able to just ask questions on the data and then dig deeper into the data without having to go back and rerun a report, right? Each time you ask another question,
Exactly.
which is prohibitive. You just, you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is the fifth time we've done this. Like maybe we wait till next
Exactly.
or something. But now, just to facilitate an interactive discussion like that, the value's got to be amazing. And so here's a question for you. What would you do if you didn't have this? Like how could you even think about dealing this as an individual dealer without this tool?
Well, I mean, you have two choices. The first is you build spreadsheets and hope that you get all your formulas right and invest that time, right? Your other option is something that's pretty expensive, really. It would be, something like a Tableau level data visualization tool, which could be, tens and tens of thousands of dollars a year, not to mention that none of it's pre-built, right? The beautiful thing of this product is that it's built to the structure of the database for eAutomate. So you don't have to point things, to all of the different places where data might live. It's already pre-built kind of by functional area, right? I mean, every single day we use 770, which is the financial insights, right? So that's all your financials. We use 517, which is all your orders. So we manage our entire order workflow process end to end from sales support all the way through logistics procurement, and then back to funding all through a BI. Um, you would just have to create so much manual process, or I guess recreate so much manual process to supplant what. this ecosystem that they've built. It's almost like akin to um, you get in your car, right, and they've got the stereo. This is kind of like Apple CarPlay going over the real ugly stereo that the Automate has built. Like it's a really
Great
good way to look at
analogy.
it.
Great analogy. So when you're using this, um, how often, when you pop in, do you take the time to look for new stuff? Is this part of your routine? Or is there a forum that you're checking in on? Like, how do you learn, hey, there's a new tool on here that, because there's a lot of tools on there. That is one thing when I've spent time in that,
Sure.
it's you said the word before, overwhelming. It's just there's so much,
Hmm.
for a dealer who's really not tuned in yet. Um, where do they start? Like how do they even figure out which ones to try and which ones are really, really worth their time?
Yeah, it's always was the joke in the life cycle of juice is that you go on there, you find some things, they're awesome, you sign up for all of them, and then you get to the point where you create a folder and a rule so that they all leave your inbox because it's so overwhelming. So the most important thing is how do you focus on the actionable ones first? So I think the way that we do it is we've taken the successful dashboards and Power BI reports that we've put into play. We've built processes around them, right? So it's they're all actionable to some degree. People have responsibilities within them, and I think that's how you end up figuring out what to focus on. Is it started with okay, financials, exporting all this stuff, putting it into a spreadsheet, and then finding some sexy way to present it to a team every month. Okay, that takes a lot of time, right? Error prone. As soon as this came out, we built a process around it. We've got the entire finance team in there checking for mistakes, double checking work, making sure that, we manage our attainment to plan through there. So there's people working it every day in the month. And then at the end, it's a prepackaged product. So it has a life of its own. And then like on the order status side of it, everyone has their role. So it's really about making sure that you invest in actionable kind of outcomes around them. And then that's how we've built the focus on it. I tend to download everything that they put out. And then over time, someone will ask the question enough that you'll build a process around it. Kind of like there will be a process built around this whole myth and click and profitability by man. There will be something that comes out of that based on our discussion today.
See, that's the way, that's the a great way to do it for anyone who's watching this, who's not, who's overwhelmed by it, who's maybe a little anxious about trying some of these new modules. You're doing what you're doing and you like it, but there's so much more out there. That's kind of the point of these videos. Just before we end this, I do want to wrap up with, you're not just a printer company, and obviously I follow you for the
Sure.
print part, but you do other stuff, your managed services. What else do you guys do?
We do managed IT services, security and surveillance solutions, video conferencing, digital signage.
And CEO Juice, while it's a product in our world, the printer world, right?
Mhm.
You're using this for everything. You are looking at every part of your business, not just the printer area. You're able to use this for everything.
Correct. Yeah. And so on the specific juice side of things, obviously the financials and they built out the IT model as well. So there's certainly some reporting on the financial side that does take into account some of these different lines of business and how to bucket different things. Um, but really just the whole approach to using Power BI to visualize data because of CEO Juice has almost become cultural to us. It's almost a running joke that if you can't find the answer to something, someone's going to say that we should build a BI around it. And all of that foundational knowledge really came from kind of the curiosity that all of the available data and reports and dashboards have brought to us. So.
And all your executives are on this. Everybody's able to log in and just access and as much as they need. It's not, just a couple people and then you should parse it out. This is easily accessible. Everyone can see where we are. Your branches can all dial in and look like everybody's able to look at this.
Yeah, and we've got some role-based security and some rights-based security stuff, right? We don't publish
Of
everything to
course.
everybody, but we try to get all the operational stuff in the hands of the people that can actually use it for operations. And like I said, we have everything available for people at the highest level that need to see everything, want to be able to drill down, Great. So we spent this much money, drill down what's in it, and it's almost a self-service portal to really every aspect of the business.
But just, and I don't know that you're quite set up this way, but just my brain starts thinking, to be able to be a branch manager or a sales manager in a branch or a service manager in a branch, and to be able to,
Yeah.
run comparisons. How am I doing against the other branches? How am I doing against the company average? Where am I, you know, if it's set up that way, which I'm sure it could be if it isn't, but just to be the
hmm
value of that, it's got to be incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all of that, and we use on the service side, we use it for things like sales manager brings a deal. We've got a deal competitions at X or Y, right? And we can look real time, like what's the actual profitability by model in our population. You can look at some global stats all within the BIs and make kind of snap decisions. It's like the Power BI version of some of the old databases that had all of that aggregated service data. So, I mean, it's really just it's the new flavor of all of the stuff that this industry's either had or needs.
This has been awesome, super helpful, and I just want to maybe have you leave us with a maybe a bit of advice for some dealers out there that aren't getting, as much as you are out of their CEO juice, which you're paying the same amount, or probably somewhere
Yeah,
close. It's, everyone pays the flat fee, and then you use it as much or as little as you want. But let's leave us with
exactly.
some sound advice.
The sound advice that I would give people is find the number one return on investment, the number one headache that you have, the most archaic process, and then put a couple of smart people in a room with, be it Gary or somebody else to say, how do you solve this problem? Or how do you see other dealers solve this problem through the use of Power BI, right? Maybe it's financials and aggregating them are too slow, or you always have questions and no one give you an answer. Well, then start with 770, which is financials. Or maybe you've got an archaic order process. Start with 517. It shows you all your orders, what stage they're in, what's back ordered, when is it scheduled to come in, what's scheduled for delivery. Just pick a functional area and put a couple smart people in a room with juice.
Very good advice. Thank you so much for coming on today. This was an absolute pleasure. It was great seeing you.
Great to
Hopefully,
see you.
hopefully I'll see you sooner than later on a course somewhere, and we can pick up where
Amen.
we left off.
Sounds good. Yeah,
This
thanks
was
for the
awesome.
time.
Thank you, Andrew.